So that's the video. I'll do another one now, get into the basic, which is the, where did we go with the slideshow? Here we go. There. Oops, let me get you play. So everybody can see that?
Yep.
Yeah. So some of them might be blocked by the video of you guys, but we'll get the idea.
That's looking good, Al.
Yep. We've done 10 school projects to date, ranging from primary schools up to a vocational school. And you can see the area where we do it around the Karatu region, which is so nicely located between some pretty popular safari destinations, Ngorongoro Crater, the Serengeti, and Tarangire National Park. So it's a lot of the people that come to visit the schools that we build actually take in a safari at the same time or climb Mount Kilimanjaro. This is one of the first scenes I saw when I first went there. There's about 60 kids here with not school age, but not in school yet. Some of them are waiting to go to preschool. There's a typical mud hut in the area. It's a farming community, and they're all quite poor and just basically eking out an existence. The kids that don't go to school end up doing a lot of household chores, gathering wood.
What kind of farming, Al?
Mostly maize and pigeon pea, spinach, some vegetable crops, but maize is the big one. And they actually live, they sustain themselves basically with that one crop of maize. But the kids there are very, very happy to be in school. They're very attentive. They really want to succeed. It never used to be that way in Tanzania. The farmers tended to keep their kids out of school to help with the farm. But now it's all changed in the last 10 years, and they're all, they understand that if you want to be successful, you want to get eventually some money back into the family, you've got to send the kids out and get an education. So that's a little, the very first school that we did. This is the classroom. They have their little tea breaks in the morning and afternoon. They have a social life they've never had before for a lot of them, meeting a lot of other kids. They learn to play sports. This is actually a picture when John Lutz actually came and visited with us, and he brought the soccer balls, and it's actually part of this game, but he's not shown. So what we do is we have a model that we developed over the years. After a few years, we were only going to build classrooms, and we decided we wanted to build all the other ancillary buildings as well. So we actually have teachers living on the site, and we have a kitchen, dining hall, teacher's room, and library. So we basically have 9 buildings that complete a complete school. That's the first one, very first one we did. The picture you saw there, on the video, was celebrating the opening of this particular building. And we've added 2 more buildings since then. This photo's back in, I think, 2015. And since then, we've actually almost completed this very first school. So we've got about 7 out of the 9 buildings. So what we do is we actually end up having a little mini community. The dining hall used for weddings, meetings, celebrations, classrooms sometimes for church service. This is the first teacher's residence we did, which for 2 families is a kind of a government standard design. And then I eventually, there's one of the teacher families, and I eventually decided to upgrade it a bit better and made it a much bigger for 2 families. So this is probably about double the size for each of the units. They can grow vegetables in their garden behind the the residents. We pipe in water to the schools where we can. Some of them still don't have water, but I think half of them have water. And one of them actually even has electricity, which allows us a computer program in that primary school. So it's the only one. Not very many regulations there. You can just basically show up with a plan and start digging. All the local officials are very welcoming. It's almost no red tape. We're just happy to have you there and spending your money. And they help out with the digging for the foundations. I started off and the buildings are quite crude, but now I've got a wonderful builder who's sort of got an engineering background, and he's very computer literate. So we're building very efficiently now. As you can see, some of the later projects at the end of the slide, you'll see that they're quite sophisticated looking buildings compared to these first ones that we built. But they typically use a concrete brick that's 18 inches long, 9 inches high, 6 inches thick. So we build, rather than just wood frame, we build them solid to last at least 50 years. And we built some pretty solid wood trusses as well. What I do is on the first few schools, I designed the trusses and built the trusses myself as samples for them to follow. And then they eventually got the idea of how to build these trusses. Occasionally I get up on the roof and help them frame it. Probably not in the last couple of years. I'm getting a bit too old for this. But they're built fairly well now. Very simple materials, sheet metal for the roof. We paint them nice bright colors. This is a high school. So we started off in 2015, after 5 years, the graduates from the primary school are saying, where do we go from here? So please build us a high school. So we did. We've got a 4-classroom high school. It's completed the phase 1 of it. Named it after one of the donors. Edith Gavora is the wife of one of the donors who passed away. So this is how a school is laid out. You can see the classroom buildings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 7, what they call standard 1 to 7. We call them grade 1. They use the word standard 1 to 7. We have the kitchen, dining hall, and teachers' residences. The gold is what we've actually built on this one particular site, that Kilamamoja. And the white buildings are what we have left to build. This is the high school layout. You see, it's quite a large master plan, and we've only built 6 buildings so far. We've got about 20 buildings to go. This is another primary school where we've built all the classrooms, and we have another classroom under construction. And then we got sidetracked by one project in this one village. Another donor or another NGO approached us. And this is a local NGO called the African Book Box Society. They're now partnering with us to provide food programs, and they supply and they pay for all of the books. So they're kind of a book box organization. They're interested in supplying books to our schools, but they've also funded, because they've got some pretty big donor backers, and they've actually funded a couple of projects, large projects, which we built for them. This one is actually a dormitory that's sitting in a small village of Luhunga in southern Tanzania, that we helped them solve this problem of all the local girls were getting raped. Some of them, a lot of them actually by their own teachers, getting pregnant, and the village mothers just got extremely pissed off at this situation over the years, and they just said, they asked this NGO, ABB, African Book Box, to please help us out, build us a dormitory for these girls to keep them safe. So at that point, coincidentally, they met up with our charity organization, and we agreed to build this thing. So it was quite a wonderful facility architecturally for me to be able to do something like this, because it's quite sustainable. We collect rainwater, we use solar heating, and we've got little vegetable gardens in the back, and we house 64 girls in this completely self-contained facility. That's what it looks like in real life. And there's the girls that inhabit it. And then we also got a problem with a lot of the kids that finished high school said, well, some of them some of them don't want to go to high school. Others that finished a certain level of high school said, well, we'd like to go to a vocational school to learn a trade. So the village of Karatu district council said, well, could you build us a vocational school? We agreed. We managed to find a big donor, and about $250,000. We managed to build this trade school, which has a plumbing workshop, an electrical workshop, computer training, an administration building, plumbing, tailor and sewing workshops. And that's what it looks like in real life. So it's quite a well-built facility, and the government has registered it and is now going to be taking over the operation of it from the local community. The local village has been trying to, I have to give them credit. They tried really hard. They're not really administrators, they're farmers, but now the government vocational school department of the government is actually now running the thing quite successfully. And we've actually built this year, we just completed a 32 girls dormitory for it as well. There's some of the students that are doing the workshops. Some of the donors that have asked, can we come and look at the schools? And so they do come, and when they do come, it's an amazing event, because the whole village comes out to greet them. They sing and they dance for them, and you can see from the previous, they make them village elders. And it's quite a huge celebration when they come. It's basically, it's just, they don't get very many opportunities to have parties in these villages, and this is one of the opportunities. And this is why we do it, to get little smiles like this.
Mm. Wow.
Wow.
Amazing, Al.
Alan, is most of your work is involved with infrastructure, right?
What do you mean? Yeah, we do the building.
Yeah. Do you get involved with staff, teaching staffs, or anything beyond that?
No, what's really nice things, we build it. The government staffs it, pays the teachers.
Okay.
They have a very paltry wage. They start off after graduating from teachers' college. They stop at something in the order of about $200 a month, and half of that goes to renting a home or accommodation of some sort. And this is why we actually build the dormitory or the teachers' residence for them. It actually frees up half of their salary to allow them to get, do things for their kids, give them clothing and feed them properly. And but the residence actually is quite an important, huge change in their life, because they don't need to be cooking outside on a fire. They can now, because we insist that they get away from all that smoke inhalation and cook inside on gas stoves. So we buy them the gas stove. They have to pay for the gas, which is quite cheap there, but it's a complete change in their lifestyle. It actually improves their health.
What are some of your, what are your biggest challenges? Where do you need funding?
Well, we have 10 schools in operation. They're not complete yet. This is the thing. And in 10 years, we're now probably averaging about 60% complete in terms of all of the buildings. So in other words, there's 3 or 4 primary schools that have 8 teachers' residence. There's one that has 2 teachers' residences. Each one has for 2 teacher families. So some of the teachers are getting accommodated at some of the schools. A couple of schools don't have any residences at all. They don't have kitchen dining halls, but we do have all of the classrooms at this point. Some of the teachers' residences, a couple have a dining hall. A couple of them have toilet buildings. So we kind of look at which, these 10 schools sort of it's a squeaky wheel that gets the grease, right? Some of them, they approach us, and the people who are actually in the most need for a particular new building, we do that. We focus on that one.
Mhm.
But ideally, we want to get all 9 buildings built in every school. And I'm budgeting, I guess before I get too old, I'm budgeting for another 5 to 7 years to do that. So at the rate that we're receiving donations, it probably will happen. So we're doing fairly well on that level. We managed to actually.
Alan,
Yeah.
speaking of donations, are you soliciting donations primarily in Canada, or is your appeal international?
At this point, it's just in Canada, yeah.
But could you go international? Are there?
Well, the only thing with that is
there are regulatory issues that you'd have to deal
well,
with.
the issue is mostly around tax receipts. Most people would like to get a tax receipt, and I don't know how that would work with. We had a couple of Americans who wanted to get involved, and they said, "No, if you can't issue us a tax receipt, we can't issue any money." So, there's a lot of there are 82,000 foundations in Canada, and we're actually now in a program where we're actually going to be approaching a lot of these foundations who are more education oriented to sort of get some funding.
Al, you repeatedly talk about we do this and we do that, but the distinctive impression I've gotten over the years is that most of it is you. You're the guy. There's other folks I know that are in there swinging shovels and what have you in Africa, but aren't you more or less it?
That's it. It's just me. Yeah, I've got a couple of directors who come with me to Africa and join in the celebrations, but
if you took your foot off the gas pedal, my point is the ship would stop, right? Or
yeah, no, if I'm gone, no, I'm actually looking for, obviously I've got to look at succession, right? And I want to keep, I think it'd be nice to keep this charity going. And I'm actually talking to some 55-year-old semi-retired business people, engineers, architects, anyone in that kind of area that can take over. And I've got one guy actually who's an amazing fundraiser as well, so, and he's quite interested in getting involved. So we're going to be making him a director, and maybe he can take over for me one day. But what makes it easy for me is I can just crank out these drawings still on my on my computer, and my builder guy there is so amazing. He just takes my drawings, gives me a quotation, and starts building within a few weeks. We send him over money. I send money directly to his account. He's very, very, very lucky that this guy is absolutely honest, and
is he a local guy?
He's a local guy there. Yeah. His name is Restus Sanka. And he's one of the most interesting, funny, capable guys that I've ever met. He's actually my best buddy over there. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I could not do this without him.
Al, how did you get started and why Tanzania and so on? Like, how did all this start for you?
I have a nice answer to that. You read my book. Yeah, I wrote a book called From Clay to Classrooms, and it's actually on Amazon. I wrote that book right after I finished the first 2 schools, when all this stuff was fresh in my mind. And basically I went to, a very short summary is I went there just to stroke off something off my bucket list, which is to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. The head guide that came up with me was a retired teacher who quit teaching because they weren't getting paid enough. I talked about that before. Being a mountain guide was triple the salary. At the top of the mountain, when the air was kind of thin and I was feeling a little bit weak, I agreed to build a school for him. So when I came down, he reminded me. I said, "Did I?" "Yes, you did." So I had another week to spare before coming back to Canada. So I basically did a very quick education on school building and where to get materials and how the whole thing worked and everything. And then I came back and basically got right into drawing. Submitted a drawing to that guy who became a part-time project manager with his mountain climbing. He actually climbed Mount Kilimanjaro 400 times. But he became the project manager, and he actually built the first 2 schools. And then since then, I've just grown and built better quality buildings with a better builder.
Dave Pelly had the same, and he was asked the question. Dave said, here's my website. Go look at my website.
There you go.
Alan, can you remind us, please, how we can donate?
Yeah, you go to my website, which is primaryschoolsforafrica.com. Primary schools, plural, primaryschoolsforafrica.com. And then there's a donate button on there. And it's done through Canada Helps. The Canada Helps is an agency that basically issues the receipts to whoever donates online. The other way, of course, is on the website. It walks you through the other ways of doing it. You can send a check. We prefer checks simply because we save the 3.5% that this online agency takes.
Yeah.
So when it comes for a big donation, that comes up to a lot of money.
Yeah.
We've had donations upwards of $150,000, and that's a big chunk of money to give to Canada Helps. 3.5% of that.
Your book is Oliver and McBride, isn't it?
Yeah, that's another book that I wrote actually during COVID when I was a little quieter. We just had the one project going, but I decided I've always wanted to write a book, so I wrote that one. It's a fiction novel, but it's based in Tanzania. It's a love story. Have you got a copy there?
I put your name on the in Amazon, and the thing that came up is the one, Oliver and McBride.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
What's the title of the other one?
The other one's called From Clay to Classrooms.
Okay.
Alan, what are the cultural challenges that you're facing in Tanzania? I'm thinking of one you mentioned about security, and another one about religion, Muslim, Christian, that sort of thing. Or are there other political challenges?
Well, I have had my room robbed, and I had my computer stolen right in the middle of a project when I was designing something over there, and I lost a hell of a lot of information. So I made the mistake of actually bringing my big desktop there, which is ridiculous. I should have just brought a laptop or something. But and there are, since then I've actually now been accommodated with a friend. I met a guy who actually had a small resort in Karatu, and we became friends, and he asked me if I could help him expand his resort. So I did. I went there and I basically stayed at the resort, and I redesigned a lot of it and did some new buildings for him. And my fee was basically a lifetime free accommodation. So now I'm actually secure, because it's a gated resort with guards around it, and I don't have to worry about my safety anymore. But basically, my buddy, my building buddy, Restus, he's a big black guy. I mean, I never go anywhere without him anyway. But at night, at least, I feel safe. Because some strange things can happen there, and I can tell you. Generally, I mean, not to color the Tanzanians, they're a very wonderful, loving people, most of them. But some of these politicians, they want to hang on to their jobs, and as you know, with the recent president who died, President Magufuli, is everybody aware of how he died? He was a COVID denier. He actually got COVID and died of COVID-19 himself. And that was a great thing for the country, because his vice president, Samia Suluhu, is actually really going great guns on this COVAX program to get everybody vaccinated now.
What's the effect of these security conditions and cultural conditions on your project?
No, it doesn't affect me very much. And don't forget, I'm in these very small communities. There are some issues with maybe with religion, there's a very small percentage of Muslims, and some of the Tanzanians don't like the Muslims, and there's a little bit of minor incidents that happen, but generally there aren't any problems that way. Most of the Muslims are centered in their own community, basically on Zanzibar, the island of Zanzibar, which is 95%. And there's only 5% of Muslims in the rest of the country. So there isn't that kind of thing. There's the odd little scuffle, but it's interesting because I wake up every morning at I'm in a nice little resort that's on the outskirts of Karatu town, but I can hear the Muslim 5 o'clock chanting as I wake up every day. And the Tanzanians accept it. They kind of like it almost. Some of the singing is quite lovely. But generally, we don't, safety concerns are not really a problem. There's the town thief who will look for opportunities, and he kind of followed me around for a few days and found out where I was staying, and he grabbed my computer and sold it for $200. We ended up, I screamed bloody murder with the top politician that I knew there, and he ended up sending out a buddy of his who was actually a criminal to find this guy. He called him a detective, but he was actually just another criminal that knew all the other criminals. So they actually found my computer and got it back to me totally empty and totally useless. No hard drive. But nothing since then.
Coming all that stuff. It's good stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually quite fun there, and a lot of people come there with me. So I've almost every time I go, I bring a party of some friends and family, and we have a good time. They have a great time. It's a wonderful experience to be there because you're treated like royalty. I mean, it's amazing what they will do for you, and they give you gifts. They sing for you, they dance. With COVID, it's a bit of an issue because we did bring. I did bring a politician friend. I won't disclose her name, but you probably all know her. She came with us, and she ended up getting so wrapped up in all of the greetings and the kids surrounding her and swarming her that she actually picked up a bug from them and had flu or stomach poisoning for the rest of her trip. So she didn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah, Alan, if I want to throw an idea at you, what would be the cost for a two-person to go and visit your area?
So you can. Well, the flight is economy flight's about $2,500 return. I use KLM, and if you climb a mountain, there's if you want to climb Kilimanjaro, for example, that's another $2,500. If you want to just do a safari, you're looking at maybe $600 to $800 to do a 5 or 6 day safari. And then it's your accommodation. Count on about $100 a night for accommodation. Meals are very cheap. You can eat locally. Just don't eat anything that's cold. Make sure it's all cooked.
So what you're saying, in actual fact, for a 2-week organized trip out there that you could put in place with $25,000, you would do it.
25. Did you say 25,000?
Yeah.
$25,000 would do a great trip. You can do it. You can do a good trip, a round trip. But we do it for about between 5,000 and 10,000, and that gets you a safari.
Here's the idea I want to throw at you. Okay, let's say you're looking for $200,000 or $100,000 for building one of your buildings. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you do a raffle across Canada and you've got your network, and we could be a group to start it, and we try to raise, let's say, $200,000. Okay, let's say we put in circulation 2,000 tickets at $100 each, or $250,000 or whatever. Okay, and we give ourselves something like 3 to 5 months in order to really put that across, and we have a coordination here, and we get the tickets sold. And it's a matter of getting it organized with the regulations here somehow, either in Quebec or in Ontario.
I love it. When can you start?
But I'm just throwing this as an idea. Guys.
That's a great idea. You know, the problem with all of this that I've been having for 10 years is basically I do all my own fundraising, and you know, it starts to get a bit overwhelming if I'm trying to go in so many different directions for fundraising. I basically have a pretty good bunch of contacts, and I do the occasional corporate presentation. I get one or two extras there, so you know, it's happening at a certain pace that I can handle because I'm doing it all myself, right? But if I have, sorry,
if I may use another couple of minutes here, here's what I'm thinking about. I could collaborate, but if it is like, for instance, a class project under the guise of the RMC club or whatever, we can look into the mechanics. I have no idea about the mechanics at this point, except I've organized some raffles in the past 20, 30 years ago. And we were able to cover it quite a bit very rapidly in order to get it done. So backtrack, I'm getting all mixed up in my head. But here's the point. Right. Let's say, for instance, I could draft the plan, send it to you, or send it to the class through you, John, and then you can all react, and you say yay or nay, and then we just go from there. But let's say you want to raise, give a figure. What do you need? 100,000, 200,000.
Well, we build a building at a time, and the average building that we build is around $40,000 to $50,000 now. You know, it's going to take us about a couple of million to finish all of these buildings. Maybe less than that. I haven't really actually worked it out, but let's say we're looking at 10 schools, and they each have an average of 3 or 4 buildings that need to be built at $50,000 each. That's what, 10 times 150, what, $1 million, $1.5 million right there. So I can't put a number on it. I'm just happy to get whatever I can get.
But as a group, okay, let's put it this way. Let's say you're 50,000, 2 buildings, 100,000, and you got 50,000 for all the expenses or whatever. Let's say we commit to 1,500 tickets. Okay, 1,500 tickets, 150 grand.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's assume that you sell, normally we sell 90, 92, 95%. So let's say you sell for 130,000. We can manage all the expenses with the 30,000 that is there, sort of.
Yeah.
And 1,500 tickets.
Yeah. I think most donors would like some form of so you'd have to work out the mechanics of how the tax receipts are issued. That's the key.
I think what you're suggesting, aren't you, Paul, is that the winner of this raffle will get a expense paid trip to the site.
2 weeks. 2 person, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the trip would be organized. You know, you would have to plan the effort you would have to do, Alan, is plan what would be a 2-person, 2-week expedition in your area, interests, meeting people, and so on and so forth, combined with the donation activity.
Yeah, planning a trip's not a problem because I actually do that now with every donor or friend that I take in there. I actually plan because I do have the contacts there that offer the best accommodations and tour packages. I've got a guy who actually runs a tour company there. That's a friend of mine, and so I've been doing that. I even organize the schedules, the day-to-day schedules, and coordinate their safaris with the school visits, with their own personal holidays, say at other places like Zanzibar. So I have a lot of that information already, the data for. So yeah, that's.
What
Come on, Paul.
If I commit myself to draft a plan, okay, all the content, I send it around. If you feel it's good, then we get started and we do something about it. But I will commit myself, because I don't want to take all the session on an idea, a wild idea, but I have an idea in my head, and I've done something like that in the past that was very successful. So I'm going to try to adapt what I'm thinking to what I heard, which was very interesting and enlightening for me. More so because I have some friends that are in the next door country in Kenya.
Yeah.
He's in the Kilimanjaro mountain. So I know a little bit about the area. So I was very interested in hearing what you have to say. And based on what you just said and the projects that you have in mind and that you are actually working on, perhaps there is an idea that one of us or one of the people we can reach, go and live a dream life for 2 weeks in Africa, and at the same time generate 100 grand for you, for your projects. What do you say?
Well, you know, one of the projects there, I think most of you know, is our primary school called TDV. TDV Primary School, which is named after, you know, the 3 letters TDV. TIDIVI Primary School is 4 buildings short of completion, and we're looking there at about $150,000 to $200,000 to complete that school. So I mean, there's an ex-cadet project right there that's specific for, you know, RMC.
Okay, and it could be a combination, a raffle plus donation.
Yeah,
And
I think
could be done under the guise of RMC.
I think that'd be fun. That'd be a nice little prize to be able to get an all expenses paid trip to there, because it's been quite exciting.
Okay.
Can I hit the pause button just for a second here, guys? We're 45